and welcome to MotorInc First. Shumi's been traveling to Rajasthan, and I would have assumed it's Jaipur because it's Hero, but as it turns out, it's not.
It's not.
He went to Udaipur, and he rode not one but two Heroes, but we're going to be talking about only one right now.
Yes.
Can you just let us know which were the two that you rode and what we're going to talk about now?
So, Hero basically painted themselves into a little bit of a corner at the Bharat Mobility Expo.
Okay.
Not a serious issue, but a small hiccup. Where at the Bharat Mobility Expo this year, they showed the Xpulse 210 and the Xtreme 250R. But they also announced the prices.
Okay.
Then they had an event in January, which was planned. Then that event had to be moved. And now the problem is that they want to start delivering the motorcycles by the 20th-ish of March.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is airing before or not, so I'm not saying now and then, it doesn't matter. But now suddenly there's crunch time and you have to do two motorcycles. And you want to get the stories out before the delivery starts. So what do you do? On the flip side, what I really enjoy about meeting the Hero guys is they're constantly listening.
Right.
So we've been saying everything at the CIT handling track going up to Nahargarh, it's not appropriate for all products.
Right.
And we did a series of those.
Right.
And then they said, so we said, yes, that's right. Because around Jaipur, most of the roads are flat, right? So the variation that you need to establish the idea is not always easy. And people who are filming, especially, we don't do it. So we have a little bit more latitude, I think. But people who are filming are looking for a location where shooting would also be easy. So I have to experience the bike. I have to understand what it does. I have to film certain things. I have to find a place which is quiet enough to stand and talk to the camera. And it gets really complicated.
Right.
So they evolved the plan. So they said, we'll do a product briefing. And it did get a little bit confusing because now you're trying to process information on two different motorcycles, two different platforms, two different agendas, similar price points. I have the iPad with me just for that, so that I can keep the numbers straight. I shouldn't tell you that the Xtreme 250R has 200 mm of suspension stroke, for example, right? And what I did therefore is we attended the briefings, but I had a time crunch. So they were very kind to make sure somebody was with me throughout so that whatever questions I had whenever, those were answered. In the footage, you'll see a rider ahead of me. That is David. David is the head of vehicle dynamics.
Mr. Lopez.
Mr. Lopez. He's an awesome guy to ride with. And he did all the chassis work. And you remember, we've been saying Hero's making great chassis. It's that team that produces that brilliance. And I'm really happy to report that's spreading further into the organization. From the Destiny 125 onwards, Hero's been making great engines. We are going to discuss this on 2 episodes of MotorInc First, but there are 2 great engines in here too. Now, what they need to fix, and we talked about it one-to-one with the teams there, is their marketing structure for premium bikes and some of the elements that help you feel like this is a premium product, where some of the aggregates still haven't reached that level yet.
Okay.
So these are 2 really good machines. Hero might have overdone a few things to the point where the goodness of these machines may not be obvious because it's too much. So they've, if you call it a mess up, they've messed up from the wrong side this time. They've done too much maybe. We'll talk about it. It's a very, very interesting.
Color me curious.
I had a very, very good set of rides.
Okay.
The Xpulse is the easier product to appreciate because it does one specific thing. And I maintain motorcycles that do one specific thing and do it really well are far more memorable than motorcycles that do a lot. And the Xtreme 250R does a lot.
Okay.
So, to give you a sense, I rode both the motorcycles roughly to the same place, but on different routes, as it were, because the agendas for the 2 motorcycles are different. The Xtreme 250R is being, the label for this motorcycle is Xtreme 250R Challenge the Extreme.
Okay.
The difference is there is no E at the beginning of the motorcycle's name, but there is the E at the beginning of the word.
Okay.
But it's effectively saying Xpulse, challenge the Xpulse, and it doesn't make much sense. But what I'm really happy to report is you will hear this is the fastest 250 in class.
Okay.
You will hear that challenge the extreme thing. And this is one of the least extreme, most happy, enjoyable motorcycles you'll ever ride. But it's a polite, subtle motorcycle.
Okay. Before we go any further, this is that in-between class that seems lost between the 2 ends of the, let's say, exciting spectrum.
Yes.
Right? Which can be the 150s at one side or 200s,
Correct.
Whatever you want to say.
Correct.
Right? And the 300s upwards.
Correct.
So when you say rivals, who are there aside from the 250 Duke?
Okay, so the thing is, the 250 Duke is your extreme reference on the top, but that bike is about, I want to say 55,000 rupees more expensive than this bike.
Okay.
On the lower end would be the Pulsar N250, for example. which is a very commutery pulsar,
Yeah.
which has completely different value sets.
Mm.
But what Hero is saying is something very interesting. Hero is saying the premium segment is 97% or something street fighters.
And the Yamaha FZ2
I'll come to it. Wait. So the FZ25 we will not discuss because it's retired.
is retired, right?
It's retired hurt.
Okay.
Okay. The motorcycle is retired. We are hurt. Retired hurt. Okay. So one reference point would be the MT15 because the MT15 is a 20 bhp-ish naked motorcycle, but the price point is very similar to this motorcycle. It's almost 1-to-1. So that's one reference point.
Okay.
Performance, the Duke 250 is a reference point, but this motorcycle is a lot less expensive. The N250 is a reference point because it is a 250. It has no direct relevance to this product in terms of comparatives, but the N250 is a fantastic commuter, and Bajaj stepped up the suspension game, so we will bring that up at some point. But what Hero said, which is very important, is Hero has the awareness of the mass market. They don't want it to pollute the premium bikes too much, but they have an awareness of it. And they're saying if motorcycles are under 2 lakh rupees today, the number of people who can buy a motorcycle is much larger than if a motorcycle is above 2 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And you should remember this because this will come up on when you ask me the question, why is the Xpulse not a 250 also? That is the reason why the Xpulse 250 currently does not exist. And Hero said categorically not opposed to the idea of the Xpulse 250. But we want to see where we head with the 210 first. And what I'm going to discuss in the 210 is they are willing to get very serious about off-roading. If you are willing to get very serious about off-roading, it has to be done in commercially viable numbers.
Okay.
So that discussion we will leave aside.
Right.
What we need to understand about the 250R is this is part of the family that created the 210. This is the second product in that family. And the Charisma 250, which will come in the future, will be the third part of this family. So the frames, the engines have some similarities, but this is effectively a brand new motorcycle on every single front. So effectively the chassis is brand new, effectively this engine is brand new, and we will see more derivatives of this product in the future.
Okay.
Now, I did have a conversation with the product planning team, and I said, when you build a new platform like this, how much latitude do you build? It's a, like, if I'm building a 250, can this grow to be a 500? Can this go down to be a 125? How much latitude do you keep? And they gave me a very interesting answer. They say usually what we can decide is how many stages of growth should we leave depending on the role and the platform, but it is not a CC thing. So a manufacturer doesn't seem to say if it's a 250, they should grow to a 300 or go down to a whatever, 180. What they say is, will this platform require latitude to have 2 levels more or 1 level more? And they didn't give me a clear answer because they're not allowed to, but I think this is a 1 level product, which means from this engine family, 1 more displacement derivative will come, which may do the same kind of job or a different kind of job.
So that's why.
I'm telling you, leave all those reference points aside because we've turned a huge, massive corner.
Okay. That makes sense now.
We don't need to discuss refinement on either of these two motorcycles because there are no issues to discuss.
Wow.
This is, the 250R is buttery smooth, almost too smooth from 0 to red line.
Because when you started talking about the family aspect, and I was like, my memory of our conversation of riding the Charisma, whatever briefly that I did, was that it was all right. It didn't leave me feeling that, yeah, I want to spend more time with this bike. And
That's
that
right.
it, for a Charisma name and for the 210 tag and all of that, I wished it had more roundedness.
See, think of Refinement as Hrithik Roshan's cap. This poor cap has had to be rescued from a typhoon multiple times in the history of this bike. Correct? They've invented a completely new kind of cap which will not get blown off in the wind. There is no refinement issue to discuss.
Okay.
Okay? You ride it as hard as you want, it stays smooth. Like, I'll tell you this motorcycle on a downhill, Udaipur is, I want to say that word, but I won't say the word, it is beautiful. And Hero had a very nice selection of routes which really highlight the qualities of these motorcycles, and they did an amazing job of it. It's what they're supposed to do at a launch event, is highlight what this motorcycle does. We're going downhill, we're letting the bike run, and it gets to 140, 45 indicated. And you can tell that we are working hard now, but there is no refinement issue at that stage either. Effectively, I'm telling you, we don't need to discuss the refinement. It's in the past now.
No, so that makes sense as to why they would go to a new engine altogether, because they would have recognized that this is not hitting the markers. So, I mean, just from the standpoint of it being a product with a long lifespan, this sounds like the right start. If you're already
Yes.
refined at a 250 and you go a step up after
Yes.
that, that means you still have the latitude to push this.
Yes. And we will come back to this idea too. Just remember, we have to discuss this idea. We briefly touched upon it on the KTM adventure story also. We were told categorically, since your audience seems to be the most evolved, they implied it, they didn't say it, so I'm not putting words in their mouth. Can you please ask them to understand that if you want a fast motorcycle, which is relatively inexpensive because it's a single cylinder engine, you're going to have to pick your refinement trade-off. If you want refinement, they cannot be too fast. And if you want fast, they cannot be too refined. You have to choose what you want. Because all manufacturers, including Hero, are constantly surveying the audience to see where have we reached. And if we continuously reach the conclusion that the refinement is the ultimate deal breaker. So, brand new engine, it's designed to be reasonably fuel efficient for the class. It according to Hero, has the fastest 0 to 60 kmph time in class, etc., etc. As I told you, downhill slopes, sit on it, it gets to 140 something, and it does that. Yeah, easy, right? You will not think of this as a fast motorcycle, though. You will realize this is a fast motorcycle because it's so smooth that you can't tell that you're going fast.
This would be the point at which I would get worried and think that, this is that first gen RTR 164V problem that
it's almost there, yeah.
But from your expression, it doesn't feel like it is that.
No, so I had fun with it. And I had fun because the roads we selected to ride were really good roads. But if you were to take this motorcycle on an average road and experience it again, I'm not sure you'd reach the conclusion, wow, this is an exciting motorcycle. You'd say effective. You'd say efficient. You'd say clinically very good. You'd say mechanically super good. But would you say I'm excited about it? I'm not sure.
Oh, so this is again the Zoom 125 in one way. That feels like it's such a good thing, but it just that spot, that feel.
And that's the thing, right? So at the end of this ride, I'll give you two examples which are just wrong for this motorcycle, and I'll tell you what it did, okay? So to get to the good road, we had a, I'm going to say 10, 11 kilometer section, which was supposed to be like a normal road, but it was under construction, where they put the stones, compacted it, then put the dirt layer on top, and then forgot about it. But you had to go through this to get to the good road, which on the X-Pulse felt fine because it's like a dirt bike. But we had to do this on the Xtreme too. We didn't stand up on the saddle. We sat at some steady 40-45 kilometers an hour, and we thought, this is fine. Was it great? No, it's not supposed to be. But did I think that the motorcycle was not feeling like it's supposed? No, it was fine. And then you hit the good road and you start riding faster and everything clicks into place. So the suspension seems to work. On the way back in Udaipur, slow traffic, and Udaipur has pretty chaotic traffic, I didn't change gears because I didn't feel the need to. So I was in third and fourth and going down to 20 kilometers an hour, then going back up to 30, 40, 50, 60 and going back down to 20. So Hero has got the idea that they need to be refined. It needs to be super easy to ride. And in some situations, gear changes feel like they're almost optional.
I think it's my time to say, okay, Shumi, we get the point that this engine is great.
Yeah, okay. So it's a good engine. You will like this engine. Most of us who are refinement oriented will think Hero has got the best in class. Now, it sounds okay. Am I going to say that it's a memorable sound? No.
Loud.
Is it too quiet? No. It's just loud enough. So with earplugs in, you are aware that the motorcycle is running. It's not a bad sound. The good sounding motorcycle, I'm sorry to say this and keep bringing this up. It feels like I'm marketing it to you, but I'm not. The X-Pulse sound good. The Xtreme sounds fine.
Okay, I think we stop here. We switch to the X-Pulse.
No, that's next episode because I'm really excited about the X-Pulse. So we have to discuss it separately. And there's a lot of context setting to be done. Now, when you get to the good roads, which is reasonably straight highway, but never flat, horizontally flat highway, it's always either climbing or there's a slope, and long sweeping corners, very few hairpins, two diversions which go from a wide 2-lane with shoulder into a narrow section.
Okay.
And you can't trip this motorcycle up in terms of the cornering, it just does. Okay. Again, exciting? No. Super competent, super predictable, super trustworthy, grippy tires, good brakes, you'll have a good time. But where the KTM can become exciting, this motorcycle just says, you ride, I got this. Okay, so if you're not a serious motorcyclist and you ride Xtreme 250R, it could convert you into a more serious motorcyclist. If you're a serious motorcyclist, you'll be able to appreciate how much this motorcycle does. But the extreme part in the campaign, it's in the campaign. It's a very competent non-extreme motorcycle.
Everything to me sounds like that this is the phase A,
Yes,
and that the phase B is
yes.
when all those markers will come in, because now it is in its peak utilization zone. The chassis, the engine, so everything will work a little bit more, but you'll also feel a little bit more
Yeah,
from it.
and I'll give you small snippets of discussions which I've had online and offline with Hero, which will tell you that the mindset is shifting. For example, somebody told me, I had completely forgotten about the seat of the Xtreme 250R.
Oh,
I have no memory of this seat,
okay, that's a good
which means
thing.
it's a good thing, which means it just flat out worked.
Yeah.
And when the seat came up in a conversation, they said the designers wanted to put a slope in the seat to make the lines right.
Yeah.
And the engineers said, no, sloped seats only look good, flat seats work. This is the design of the seat, this is the slope you will use. Please do not mess with the seat. Somebody from the Hero team brought up the crown in the seat. You remember, we've been saying that seats
Yeah.
can't be like this. There is a nerve between your butt cheeks. When that nerve has any pressure on it, it is an incredibly painful experience. Somebody unilaterally from the Hero team brought up the idea that crown seats suck and we don't want to do crown seats. And in some ways, the seat was given as a given to the designers, as opposed to designers drawing a line and then engineering trying to fix the line.
Right.
Things have shifted.
That's fantastic, man.
Yes.
This is really good to hear, because the Hero team from the last, when I met them a couple of years ago, we were there together. They're such an enthusiastic bunch, and they really want to go out and do stuff. And you can
Correct.
see from every conversation now that we've, from the Destiny to, I mean, we didn't have a conversation here with you about the Destiny.
Yeah, offline,
but
between us. Yeah.
we spoke about the Destiny last, we spoke about the Zoom, and now to this, it's like things are clicking.
Yes.
Awesome.
And what I really like about meeting Hero is this weird contrast that Hero has to fight with, right? Because they are a traditional legacy commuter maker. They are trying to break into premium.
Splendor
They
Shadow.
know they need to do it as an organization. And every single time you see one of their products, you can see that they've taken steps since the last one. When I tell you the sorry to do this to you, but when I tell you the Expulse stories, you'll see how much work has gone into this. So the Xtreme can look like a lazy product, but it looks lazy because it does so many things so well. It feels like there was no work put into it. And you have to literally scratch under the surface to say,
Why would you say that? I mean,
because it's just doing everything, Karthik. So you have no questions.
so no, but why lazy product?
Because it doesn't force you to ask a question. It's like you forget the seat.
Oh, not because like of any
No,
past extremes.
think
or,
about it. Like normally when a seat hurts or a
Correct,
seat
correct,
is a
correct.
shape, then you have a question about the seat. When the seat works, you don't discuss the seat anymore. Right? There's no need. When a headlight illuminates correctly, you don't ask questions about the headlight. You ask a question about the headlight when it is doing something exceptional or when it's doing something terrible.
Dude, this is the first time in a long time I mean, a conversation about Hero, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like this is feeling like, okay, this is something to watch out for.
I'm not convinced that the Xtreme 250R is the bike, but I am saying another step taken.
No, I mean to watch out for. By that, I don't mean, I'm not talking about Xtreme.
Yeah, Hero as an
I'm talking about
organization.
Hero.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Their styling team still needs a little bit of work. They need to calm down a little bit.
We did not discuss the bikes, but he did show me the pics.
Yeah.
And I think the design in some ways is a bit extreme.
Yeah. So the reason I showed him the images is I'm changing the format of MotorInc First a little bit because he hadn't seen the Zoom 160. We went in a lot of circles because he just couldn't imagine the product.
Right.
And with a car, I don't want to imagine it, so we are okay. But he's a visual person, so I thought it'll help this discussion if he's seen the bike.
Yeah.
And instead of press photographs, I showed him my photographs, which are more realistic. So he has a sense of what both the bikes look like. So I think design could have come down a little bit. The shape of the tank, it rises vertically out of the seat and then goes down. It's a weird line to have. Do you feel it when you're sitting? No. But when the bike is standing, will that look like a naturally good shape? It's not.
Sorry.
The shrouds that come out like this are very similar to how the Xtreme 125R has these pronounced extraordinary shrouds. This one does too. So there are some weird elements in there. When you look at the motorcycle as a whole, is it a good looking motorcycle? Reasonably.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Is there a purpose to those, so to speak, tank pads that are all the way up there? Like there are those big black.
They're basically radiator shrouds.
No, this is way up on the tank.
Oh, the badge like that? I don't know what that is for. Yeah, it just has a space for the Xtreme badge
Like
to
I
sit,
just
and
got
that's it.
stuck on, like I just got stuck on that. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. So because these two products are back to back, they're not direct references. The X-Pulse looks more like a natural design. The Xtreme looks a little bit forced. There was one motorcycle that parked which they had taken the grab rails off. Without the grab rails, the tail suddenly makes sense. It's a sleek unit.
okay.
When you add the grab rails back, it interrupts that line a little bit, and then it's like, oh, okay. But at least it's not super stubby like the Xtreme 160R became.
Okay.
So, decent looking motorcycle, I would say. Finish levels are better than what we've seen from Hero. Are they at the industry standard today? Still no, still some way to go. The thing that will upset you the most is
What do you mean by finish levels in this case?
same body panels here and there, some aggregates here and there. Could this motorcycle have been made to feel more upmarket quite easily? Yes. Have they been able to do it? No, they've been able to take a step. So it is better than what we were expecting.
For everything you've said about the bike till now, the design is the one bit I feel that for a motorcycle which in every other way is effortless,
Yeah.
the design is the exception to that story.
That's what I said. So chassis had fallen into place a long time ago. Engine seems to have fallen into place now. And what we are talking about next is design, marketing, messaging, and service. These four elements remain to be solved. I can see that movement is happening on all four fronts. But have they reached the maturity of the chassis and the engine yet? No. And that is what Hero has to solve next. So what will really annoy you is mostly the instrument cluster. It is the same as the Charisma's instrument cluster.
Okay.
And that was a down market looking cluster. This continues to be a down market looking cluster. Is there a lack of functionality? No. But whole bike is full of sharper lines. And this LCD is full of round things. Okay. This LCD is difficult to read in the sun. It used to be, still is. It has all the Bluetooth connectivity features and all that built in, yes. Automatic headlamps, yes. But it just doesn't match the aura of the rest of this bike. It just feels lower grade.
Okay. Before we go into those details, how do you kind of sit on this bike?
It's a slightly sporty riding position. Not too sporty, obviously. So the handlebar is slightly low. You do lean forward a little bit.
Is it wide?
Not too wide. Not too narrow for sure. So it's not like crunched. You're in a commanding position, slightly lean forward. So it's one of those sporty, comfortable riding positions. In some of the corners where I felt like hanging off a little bit, it felt completely natural, not if my hands were too high or anything. So it's a very good place. That's what I'm saying. The problem with this bike, I would say, is what is the highlight that you want to talk about is very difficult to find because it does lots of stuff really well.
Because usually our conversations would go slightly different route, right? Which is not the case here.
No,
we've just gone through saying no, the engine is good, yeah, the suspension is good, yeah, the quality is all right, and okay, that's the bike.
I'm literally we are there. I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay, the one thing for me, and it's been a highlight ever since, like in the 160 class, I think my top favorite when it came to handling, and I'm talking about not the R15, which was the liquid cooled, etc., all of that, far more expensive, was the Jigsaw for the longest time. And then along came the 160, the Xtreme 160. It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Does this have that same sense of lightness when you're steering it?
Yes, it is light, but it feels more stability oriented than agility oriented. So it's always confidence. It's very low effort.
And the tires, what tires?
I'm trying to remember, but I think these are MRFs, and there are Euro grips on the X-Pulse.
Okay.
And grippy. Again, you don't think about the tires. Also, we had excellent road conditions. So there was always grip. There was no really slippery patches, no wet patches to hit. So we will do this in the view in detail. But was there a point where I thought I would want more feedback from this tire? No. Would I want more grip from this tire? I didn't feel like it. So all of this we will have to do at the view stage. But lots of sweeping corners, old tarmac and new tarmac, some places with a little bit of lumpiness going on. Everything got handled. The suspension feel I should define a little bit more. Okay. It's a sporty feeling suspension, but it is tightly controlled. So no harshness, no surprises. But is it sophisticated like a Duke 250 can sometimes feel right off the bottom? Not quite there. And it doesn't need to be
It doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to be because the setup works. Just like the bike says, competence. Trust me, I got this. Suspension is sporty-ish, not overdone, handles things, nailed it.
This is what I want to know because for me, the 160 is one of the happiest feelings I have I remember of a Hero in
Yeah.
all this time, right?
Yeah.
Now, and that's a while back.
Yeah.
But that experience for me is so memorable
Yeah.
because I remember I was shooting in the wet and the kind of confidence that bike gave
Yes.
on fairly ordinary specs
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And that suspension setup that you're defining is exactly, it wasn't like it was a plush setup.
No.
It wasn't like it was super sporty, but it
just
just
worked. Yes. In fact, when they did the upside down fork upgrade on the Xtreme 160R, they just took that and raised one bar because it suddenly felt sportier, but your comfort was exactly in the same place. You had more feedback, but it felt exactly the same kind of confidence.
I haven't written that one. Huh? Nice.
So I really enjoyed riding this motorcycle, and I honestly stood there and struggled with the idea of saying, what's the highlight of this motorcycle? Where do I start this conversation from? And to me, I'm not refinement oriented in the sense of that would be my highlight, but it could very easily be a highlight of this motorcycle.
We're two ends of that spectrum here.
No, I'm not saying I would not like my motorcycle to be unrefined, but
No.
to me, that is a checkbox on a hygiene list somewhere. It's not a, whoa, so smooth, I must have one. It's never been my thing, right? Did I enjoy it thoroughly? Yeah. So should we talk about handling? No, it's a good handler. But was I excited about riding it some more kilometers? No, I thought if I rode some more kilometers, I'd have a good time. Right?
So you weren't tired at the end of it? You could have.
No, yeah, I could have just kept going.
How much time do you spend with it?
I had about 110 kilometers on both motorcycles.
Okay.
Right? And we did, David and I did sit and talk lots. So not all this time that we spent on the motorcycle was spent riding either. What I rode was 110 each. On the Xtreme, mostly highway. On the Xpulse, more mixed conditions. And this is the difficulty I'm having with this bike. It's very difficult to find the highlight. सब कुछ करता है. So what do you talk about as the whoa? That's the
price.
Price is also roughly the same as a MT-15, so about 1.8x.
Correct. Because when you were talking about the MT-15, I was just thinking that's liquid cooled. That's.
So is this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so is this. This is a 250. That's a 150. That's 20 something horsepower.
18, 19, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. And this is.
This is 30.
So I think the value equation is definitely the
Oh,
highlight
yeah,
if they're
absolutely.
nailing everything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not value oriented.
I know.
To me, the feelings that a motorcycle gives you is value. This motorcycle gives you lots of good feelings.
No, but this sounds like a Hero thing where they have delivered value before, but you have been compromised on the, let's say, the overall ability of the motorcycle. There have been highlights in the past. Like today, we are signing off the chassis and suspension part because we've taken it for granted that this is a Hero thing. They get it right. So they got that right. Now they've got the engine right. They've had the value right before. So now it is a package that's coming together. Only it's missing out on some of the feeling.
It's a connection thing, yeah. And again, connection is subjective, right? So don't take my word for it. Go test ride this motorcycle because I know you're going to be impressed.
Listen, at the end of this, I just realized the SF250 is still on sale, right?
Yes.
And that's the exact same kind of motorcycle.
It's far more dull than this motorcycle. The Suzuki is much more dull.
Because I have so much respect for that motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right? It does so many things. It does it so well. But like imagine
So okay, great.
It's come in this conversation now.
Great reference point. If you take the Gixxer SF feelings that you have and you turn everything up 1.5, 2 notches, you will get the Hero.
All right.
Everything. Every single thing.
Okay.
Right?
So that's a good bar.
Yeah, where Suzuki will win is overall quality. Again, not finish, not premium appeal, it's quality. Suzuki does really high quality stuff in India, right? So switches, tanks, body panels, plastics, everything will be super high quality. Is the Hero close to it? Yes. Can it match it? Not yet. But Gixxer, Hero, better handler, it'll be very close. I think the Hero is the slightly better handler. Engine refinement, the Suzuki is not in the same ballpark. It's below this.
Yeah.
Seat, both good seats, this is better.
And pricing? Do you remember the price?
I don't remember the Suzuki price, but the Suzukis tend to be really expensive, which is why they don't sell very well. And now the Gixxer is just decades old. It feels like it's like 50 years old or something, and Suzuki really need to roll out an update. It's past due and a half.
Yeah, it's like such a Suzuki thing. They brought it, it's there, and yeah, okay, we'll think about it sometime later.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
No, I get exactly why you'd be struggling to wrap this up. But I guess it's just a question of them having gone tick mark, tick mark, tick mark, and getting it all together now with
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
And I guess we have to wait for phase B, phase 2.
The Xtreme would be much closer to phase B already. And I think this motorcycle by definition is odd. See, if you should remember that we've had the same conversation about the Gixxer 250, saying does so many things, kind of dull. We've had the same conversation with the KTM 250 Duke, saying does so many things, not like a KTM. It's kind of middle groundy. We've had excited conversations about the R15. We've ridden the MT15, say, yeah, it's nice. And we're going the same place with the Hero. So technically, what this segment does, the Hero also does, and it does it really well.
Okay. And so, will there be a step up then from this? Is that to
The
be
Charisma
expected?
250 will come, and because the Charisma 250 will be either a sport bike or a sport touring bike in nature, because that role is more defined, I think we will get a more exciting motorcycle out of it. I feel like when a motorcycle has a clearly defined role goal, and you're willing to compromise a few attributes to achieve that goal, you generally create a far more powerful experience emotionally. You give it a very obvious connection point. And these kind of motorcycles that attack a lot of things and do it really well, they can feel dull. They'll be great to own. But when you take a test ride, will you have come back with good feelings? Yes. But with like, wow, I want it for this specific thing, it's very hard to do.
Well, what I meant was, will they be doing a 300 or something?
Hero's saying the sky is the limit. They are not opposed to doing a 500 also. But they would like to do it at their pace, with their sensibility, and with the idea saying we are a budget conscious country. Making a product for its own sake makes no sense to them. So they're saying the reason why the X-Pulse is a 210 is because when you go to a 250, that price will go up quite a bit. Are we ready for that price, for that ability level? Not convinced yet. Not opposed to doing it, but maybe today is not the right time. Maybe 2 years from now is a better time.
But let's say where we already have established markers, right, with this naked category, with the Duke, where you know where people are at, what they're willing to accept, right? You're sitting in the middle ground, and as an idea, it then doesn't sell itself.
No.
Right? No. So which is why I asked, is there, by phase 2, I meant was because you're saying this is so smooth and because the chassis is so competent, is there a step, the next step that is being...
They won't tell us, obviously. They won't tell us.
But you think...
This project is 4 years old. So they were working on this for the last 4 years. So you have to assume that they're working on something else already.
I would really hope that there is.
No, they have to be. Look, the 2 or 3 things that are falling into the right zone for me, mentally for Hero, is one, their R&D center is now 8 years old. In my experience, 10 years is when R&D setups fall into a rhythm. And R&D centers don't generally have a high movement of engineers. They generally stay where they are, which means the team gets used to each other. They get used to each other's quirks, preferences. They start working better together. And if you remember, when Bajaj did Stars Ahead, which is their current R&D setup, Stars Ahead started producing their first super effective motorcycles at 10 years. Hero, I think, is slightly ahead of that curve. Technology may have helped. The seniority of the staff that had come in to build the early stages may have helped. But they might be able to achieve what that 10-year thing is starting next year. On average, new motorcycle platform projects have 4 years in the development. And that should tell you that the 210, X-Pulse, and this are both brand new products because they're both 4-year projects that have come to fruition together.
I can't wait to talk about the X-Pulse.
Right? Yeah. So if you look at it like that, things are clicking into place. Product lines are clicking into place. In the background, there is also the commercial aspect of this, right? They've created the Premia network. It's 65 open dealers today. It's another, it's going to total up to 100 within the next couple of months. They need to have enough products to be able to have the justifiable inventory to turn money around, right? The Vidas are in there. These motorcycles are going in there. The Zoom 160 will be in there. The Charisma is in there. Maverick and Harley is in there. So all the product launches that are going, if you look at it, they're all going to premium.
Yeah.
It has to be that there is a step from this. But will the step be in like 3 months' time? Yeah, well, obviously not. It'll be next year.
And in this regard, the one thing that I will add is that we don't see it. We can see all the new buildings and the facilities crop up, and Hero CIT, when it was inaugurated, it still is massively impressive.
Yeah.
But when you take an organization which is as old as Hero, with their background of being number one, doing a particular kind of thing, changing the mindset and changing the behavior and thinking within the organization to reorient towards a different world, so to speak, because going from commuters, which practically sell themselves, to going to premium, which is lifestyle, and building a new mindset for that is a massive task. And
Yeah.
so this 8-10 year phase for us seems like, man, it's taken so long.
Yeah.
But making all those things line up and work in an organization that's that large is a massive,
Yeah,
massive.
it's the Pune helmet law problem. He's laughing because he's been there, right? Whenever they try to implement helmet laws in Pune, which is India's city with the largest two-wheeler population or whatever, people are protesters saying helmets are too hot, helmets are like this, like that, and the other. And
My
it's,
helmets are bad for health.
yeah, and it's 4 steps forward and then 3 steps rolled back. And then every so many years, they try to take one more step and they roll half a step back. So it's moving forward, but it's not like an easy, smooth, logical movement, right? And I'm not privy to what goes on inside here, obviously, but I'm going to assume organization that size, that old, with that much momentum,
Yeah.
people cannot move forward without having battles to fight on a daily basis. And then somebody has to say, no, but we have to do this.
Right.
And then try and get people to agree that this is worth doing. Like I was thinking about how many parts does a motorcycle have? If you start from small sub-assemblies to the top and small aggregates to the top, hundreds, thousands. That implies hundreds, thousands of accessory and component suppliers in that chain. Now you're saying we want to make a premium product, which means the edge of the plastic on this piece cannot look rough, it has to look finished. And you have to do this kind of detail work with these many organizations who all have their own legacies, histories, and momentum.
And the pace of development would have changed so dramatically compared
Yeah.
to before. And building your own, product development, it's a lot.
It's a lot to do.
It's a lot of stuff.
And for somebody at the, let's call it seniority level of Hero, where they are the number one and they have been around for a while and blah, blah, blah. For them, the task is double hard because you've already tasted success and the success is still there. And that product is still there and is still doing those things. Uske beech mein, there is a small part of the organization that has said, no, you need to do this. And they're like, but how? Everybody's fighting with us. So I'm sure it's a very, very difficult place to work at in some ways. It's also a very exciting place to work at in some ways. But I'm happy that every single successive time we see a Hero product. In fact, I was telling this to somebody. We keep looking up to the global brands and we say Japanese reliability and Italian soul and all of this. Just think about what Bajaj, Hero, TVS and Royal Enfield are doing. 4 Indian companies. They've all not fallen into the trap of we need international tie-ups for everything. They've much rather gone and hired international talent and brought them into the organization. But look at their bikes. Look at the prices those bikes are at. We are an incredibly, incredibly efficient place to make motorcycles with. And our motorcycles, scooters are fundamentally so good.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I get upset about the Japanese manufacturers and what they're up to is because in the light of what they're capable of globally, the Indian guys make them look like they're not even awake. 4 years it takes to build a brand new motorcycle. So how do you explain that the Gixxer, which is so amazing, is what, 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old, 16 years old?
I feel like I was a kid when I rode
0
it.
updates? How do you explain that?
Yeah.
Right? Our phones were at 1G when the Activa came out. Our phones have reached 5G, the Activa only reached 6G. How is this justifiable?
Dude, seriously, when I'm thinking back to when I rode the Jigsaw, my memories are also like in like 720p, man. It just
I
feels
remember my
like
blue Joe Rocket jacket. My blue Joe Rocket
Shucks.
jacket basically means we are talking about like 15, 16, 17 years ago, man.
It can't be that long, but it feels.
It feels like it, yeah.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
It feels like it. Okay. So anything else? Okay. Equipment wise,
All the basics are covered.
we didn't talk about details. I don't even know whether the front forks are upside down, right side up. What is it?
Upside down forks.
Okay.
ABS, you can turn the rear off.
And monoshock, obviously, at the rear.
Monoshock at the rear.
Is linkage direct?
This is direct.
Okay. Okay. Screen you said is blah blah blah, not great.
Screen is
No ride modes and stuff like that.
no, not in this
Nothing
one.
like that.
Doesn't need it, yeah. It's a nice, peaceful, happy motorcycle. You don't need any of this complication. I'm just checking to see if there's something that we have missed.
All right.
DOHC 4-valve liquid cooled 30 PS, 25 Newton meters of torque. Peak torque is at 7,250.
Is the 250 Duke 30 PS? No, it's 25 something.
31 now.
Oh, it's 31.
31 now. Used to be 25.
Okay.
43 millimeter USD dual cartridge forks.
Okay.
And they're saying fastest, actually they're saying fastest to 60, fastest to 100 and fastest to the top speed also in class.
Fastest to 100 also. Oh, nice. Because there was this one launch in between, a car launch, where they quoted the 0 to 60 time, and it was like, yeah, it's awesome. But they didn't quote the 0 to 100, and that was for a reason.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. 6-speed transmission, slip assist clutch, reasonably light clutch, super light, no. But I don't think of it as too much effort.
Okay.
Um,
I think we're done. I think we've said everything that we needed to know about this bike.
11.5 liter fuel tank, 168 kilo curb weight. So it's slightly heavier than a Duke 250.
168.
Yeah, the Duke, I think, has a 15 liter tank and is 5 or 6 kilos lighter.
All right, before we get to the quick summary, in terms of size, the Charisma versus this, is this a bigger feel?
This is going to feel more substantial.
This is going to feel more substantial.
The Charisma kind of narrow between your knees. This one is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actual dimensions, is it a bigger motorcycle than it?
I'm not sure if the length.
Just trying to
I'm not
size it
sure
up.
if the length is longer than the Charisma, but it's definitely going to feel like a more substantial motorcycle for sure.
Okay, because the Charisma did feel a bit of a smaller motorcycle, and I'm not drawing it because of a reference to the original Charisma.
No.
Generally, I think
the original Charisma is not relevant to this today at all in any shape form. So forget that. This is definitely going to feel like a more substantial motorcycle. Length, I am not able to put a number to it and decide whether it is going to be even longer than a Charisma or not.
But if I have to draw a picture like about par with the 250 Duke, that type of
yeah, very similar.
Similar to that.
Very similar.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Very similar. In fact, the MT-15 might feel much smaller.
MT-15 does feel small.
Will feel much smaller. Yeah.
Okay, super. Quick summary?
I think so.
All right. So we are talking about the Hero Xtreme 250R. Yeah. And while the name is Xtreme, and it does sound like it's really close to the 210, which was already there, but this is a motorcycle that is significantly different from it. And while on the surface it is related, in some ways it is, but in most ways it is different. And I'm going to start at the heart of it with the engine, and that's the thing that caught my attention first, because I asked Shumi, why did they build an all-new engine when they had a 210? Couldn't they have just stepped it up? The most important thing that I felt, what he mentioned about the Xtreme, was that it's absolutely effortless and absolutely smooth. And that's even while going downhill at about 140 something kilometers an hour, that he could feel a sense of strain that the engine is working, but he didn't find that the motorcycle was getting rough at that point.
Not even strain, Karthik. Just awareness that we are working.
Okay, so it's not even strain, it's a sense that it's working, but without that sense of roughness or the gruffness that comes in at that point. And this is, you're talking about at what would be the one end of the performance spectrum of this motorcycle, at its limit. And that kind of smoothness is not something that we have discussed with any of the past Hero motorcycles. I'm going to say motorcycles because this was discussed with the Destiny, and this is the bigger picture that comes through now, that Hero has nailed a few things in the past, and one of those is value, and value continues to be a strong point with this 250R. And interestingly, you will have the Yamaha MT-15, which will be at the same price point, but it's a 150cc motorcycle.
155,
And so what Hero's managing to deliver in terms of value is, I think, fairly well established. The other thing, as a product attribute, which we've really respected Hero for a long time now, is the chassis and suspension. That is accepted and is a highlight on this motorcycle as well. The kind of lightness, the confidence that Shumi has expressed about riding this motorcycle over 110 kilometers or twisty, windy roads is really something to look forward to. Especially, I'm actually thinking about it, that when this comes, I want to ride it up to Pune and ride it to the old roads that we used to go riding on, because that would really give a sense of where this bike's at. But as of now, it sounds like it's got that magic. The main expression in all of that still was that it just has this sense of effortlessness. He spoke about this broken section of road, which was 10, 11 kilometers long, which Shumi also did on the AX Pulse, which we'll talk about next time. But on this Xtreme, he wasn't uncomfortable on it. Didn't feel the need to stand up at any point. The seat, again, was great. So good that he didn't even think about it. And that's the best compliment you can pay to
100%.
a seat.
100%.
That it's just doing what it needs to. So value, chassis suspension, uh, basic comfort. The ergonomics are slightly lean forward, which is exactly what you'd expect for something like this, but not too aggressive. Spacious and comfortable enough. Interestingly for me, and I was looking forward to that, was that in terms of size, it feels like a more substantial motorcycle than the Charisma 210, and that's a good thing because that felt a little small for me, just in the feel sense. And the engine, we've already spoken. Performance is there. Hero claims that it's the quickest to 60 to 100 and to its top speed. And in terms of fuel efficiency, we didn't get into the details, but it's
I can double check the numbers. I don't remember the fuel
while
economy
he
number.
looks it up. So fuel efficiency are expected to be, well, competitive, if not, again, the class best. So this motorcycle is now taking everything you need to have a great motorcycle and putting it together. It just feels a little, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but it just feels like it's more competent than connected. And so it does everything well, but it doesn't leave you with a sense of wow. In some moments it can, but not every time. Because, like Shumi was saying, if you're riding a regular road, you'll come back from that ride feeling like, yeah, this is a good bike. But on a good road, you ride really hard, and you'll be like, yeah, this feels good.
37. Yeah.
Okay, 37 kmpl. Okay, so that's reasonably good for
That's good for this class.
30 PS motorcycle.
That's good for the performance-oriented bikes in this class. So if you go to a commuter-oriented motorcycle in here, which as strange as it is the Pulsar N250, then the number will go up further.
Right. So the only misses, so to speak, on this bike were the design on a motorcycle that's otherwise really understated, because it's not shouting about its performance in the way it feels or how the suspension works and how it corners and its comfort and all of that. Is the design, because it looked a little busy to me, especially the tank area, like a few too many details, which I mean, I had to ask him, is there a purpose for it? And there wasn't. So I think that aspect of the design still needs to, that aspect of the motorcycle needs to calm down. That would make this feel like a more, I think, universally classy product.
That's exactly what the word I was going to go with. I think, Karthik, the word you're looking for is classy, and that's the word you just used.
Yeah, because everything else about it sounds classy.
It is.
This
You're
is the one
absolutely right.
aspect which kind of detracts from that
Yes.
entire feel of the
Yes.
bike. So aside from that, the usual fit finish aspects of the motorcycle are where we would expect from Hero, which is good, but not the best in the segment.
Yeah.
So it's more than acceptable. And the other one miss, which is the screen, which is not so impressive. And not so well laid out as well. More importantly, not only is it not rich looking, it's functionally lacking. It could have done better in terms of readability in the daylight and basic readability as well.
Which are exactly the issues it had with the Charisma.
Right.
It's sitting in a prettier box now, but it is still that screen, so it's had those issues.
And well, I think that's
Yeah, so great value motorcycle, really nice and fast. If you wanted to ask specific questions about commuting, I think it'll be a really easy and comfortable motorcycle to commute on. If you think about it as a tourer, I think it will work very well too. Will it have the kind of space that you'd get from an adventure tourer in terms of having luggage and a pillion? Obviously not. It's not that kind of motorcycle. But if you were looking for a solo touring motorcycle that would also take you to work, I think this would work really, really well. So all of these small bits nailed. Okay. Now the connection thing, I would tell you this, connections are subjective. We like certain kinds of motorcycles and they therefore have to have a certain personality for us to plug into. So don't discount this motorcycle because we keep saying, I wish it had a little bit more enthusiasm and energy. That's not actually an issue for everybody. That's an issue for your perspective on motorcycles.
And again, to be absolutely clear, why I said we sit at two different ends of the spectrum is also because he had a multi-strada, which was the twin cylinder, and that was just not my kind of bike, and he wouldn't have ridden anything else, even if you paid him money for it.
Correct.
The same way, I love the Busa and he respects it, but it's not the bike that he would enjoy and ride every day. That's just it. It's who you are.
Yeah, so it's very important that you understand, hugely competent motorcycle, lots of good stuff going on, go take a test ride. If that test ride says, oh, I really like this, don't worry about what I said or what he said or what anybody else says. That I like it thing is a very, very personal thing. It's a function of who you are, where you've come from, what are your personal values, what you think motorcycle should be able to do, what your skill level is at, and it's a very, very complicated matrix.
And in that, he pointed it out earlier as well. When you're on the test ride, you might be left a little underwhelmed. But that's because you're on a short ride. At the end of a longer ride, you might just get off this motorcycle thinking that I could easily ride a lot more.
Yeah. And I've been asking Hero to tell the premier dealers, let people ride your bikes. It is very important for them to have that experience, not to put a pillion on you and 500-meter rides and all of that kind of thing. It's a slow-moving process. Hopefully, it'll get sorted out. But the more you ride this bike, I think the more you'll understand, holy crap, this is a really good bike.
And I think Hero should bring out Xtreme 300 Xtreme.
I think what Hero needs to do, just
Xtreme 400.
just for the sake of it, is to make an actual Xtreme. Something that is extreme.
Actually,
You know, maybe a skunk works team is required now. Saying we do these bikes and they have to hit these markers and they're easily available to public and whatever. And then there's like one team, and I think the capability now is there. The enthusiasm and eagerness is also there. Now we're just saying somebody in the Hero top management needs to release this team and say, okay, take 10% of your official time off and go nuts.
can you think about it? If the KTM lineup in India were capped at the 250, what would we think about KTM?
Yeah, it's true. It'd be exactly like what we are saying now.
Exactly this.
Exactly what you're saying
We
now.
wouldn't have that, oh, KTM.
Yeah.
It'd be like, KTM.
Yeah, yeah.
So next time will be the Expert.
Next time will be the X-Pulse. I might have missed talking about is Hero spent quite a bit of time doing heat management, so you don't feel too much of heat on your legs, etc. I don't know how effective it was because I was busy having a good time on the motorcycle, so I don't honestly know. Udaipur was not super hot either, so this was not really a cause for concern either.
All right. Aside from the X-Pulse, what else can we expect?
X-Pulse is next. I spoke to Honda today, and we should be able to get access to the electric Activas, both of them, at some point. We'll work this part out. I'm waiting for a briefing document from River Indy. We have the scooter with us. If the changes are enough, then we might do a MotorInc First episode on that. I have invites for the Classic 650 first ride. Tickets should come today, so that is going to happen very shortly also. Scram 440 still in the wind, no idea where it's gone. Suzuki also just sent out invites for the E-Access, so that is also now in the future.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good year, I think.
Nice, lots of action. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at. See you soon. Hopefully the next episode continuously will be the X-Pulse 210. If it's not something else, do check the app and YouTube both. It is getting complicated for us to figure out what goes where when, and we are doing the best we can. It's very easy for us to release stuff to the app because it's in our control, so we can do whatever we want. So sometimes we can push out 8, 10, 12 pieces of content onto the app, which on YouTube is just impossible to do.
Yeah.
Because YouTube wants you to have a consistent pattern, etc., etc. So wherever you're watching this, please understand, it's just easier for us to do everything on the app. And therefore, if you have questions about the Xtreme 250R, please do leave comments, preferably on the app, but you can do it whenever you want. It's just easier for us to track there. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, just check the app once. Maybe the X-Pulse is already out. I don't know.
Some of you were surprised on a day that 2 views were released.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens on the app because we can do it.
Because we can do it, yeah. And if you're wondering where questions from circles went, it's in the app. This episode became so long that we would have problems, and therefore it's still there, but it is in the app. If you'd like to watch it, you'll have to go to the app.
All right, so that's all we have on the Xtreme 250R. We will have the X-Pulse 210 next, but there's going to be a small wait for that.
Here's a preview of the X-Pulse 210.
And again, I've seen the pics of that, and I have, well, questions.
I have answers.
See you on the next one.
See you on the next one.